to the videos I can always get up for. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Patrick. You're watching the Fanatic Rundown. The Edmonton Oilers coming off the Four Nations break. A couple afternoon games against the Philadelphia Flyers and Washington Capitals. And they managed to give up 13 goals on the weekend. Granted, 2 of those goals into an empty net, but still 11 goals with a goaltender between the pipes. Just simply not good enough. They were, Oilers insider Bob Stauffer said they looked marginally better today, so I guess I'll give them that. They did look marginally better. They did get the first goal of the hockey game today, a beautiful goal from Leon Draisaitl on the power play, but it was pretty much all downhill from there. It was the Alexander Ovechkin show. He picked up a hat trick, getting that much closer to overtaking Wayne Gretzky's record, which is just simply a matter of time at this point. A few people joked it was probably going to happen today. Obviously a bit of an exaggeration, but with how the game was going, I wouldn't say it was completely out of reach, but he doesn't. He gets his third goal into the empty net for the Washington Capitals today to finish off any kind of Edmonton Oilers possible comeback. Ty Emberson's stick shatters as he's taking a shot. Puck goes to Ovechkin and he buries it into the empty net. So one of the easiest goals he'll ever score. Had his family there. One of his sons was in the crowd there. Went to tap the glass each time he scored there. So kind of nice to see if you're an Alexander Ovechkin fan or a Washington Capitals fan in any sense of the word, because they were definitely the better team. I don't want to just say the Edmonton Oilers were terrible against the Philadelphia Flyers and Washington Capitals. Both the Flyers and the Capitals showed up to play, and the Edmonton Oilers just simply did not. As was the case yesterday, recent call-up, Matt Savoy looked excellent once again. He did get a few shifts, I believe, with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I definitely would have liked to have seen more of that. Matt Savoy is bringing that speed that this team desperately needs. But as a few people also noted on the broadcast, the Washington Capitals bring the speed, the size, and the skill. They are the complete package right now. That's why they are the best team in the NHL currently, and they just absolutely owned the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers have the speed. Well, they've lost some of the speed, but they have enough speed. They've got the skill, but they do not have the size right now. And getting Evander Kane back whenever that does happen, whether it's in the regular season or it's for the Stanley Cup playoffs, will certainly help. But we don't know exactly what kind of Evander Kane we're going to get when he comes back, whenever that is. The Oilers, if they can, definitely need to add some size at the trade deadline, whether it's in the fourth line, third line. If they can somehow find somebody that can play in the top 6, even better, but probably not. You're probably looking at bottom 6 or top 4 D additions for that size. And today's performance from Calvin Pickard will do nothing to silence the Oilers' need to get a goalie crowd, and this weekend was definitely 2 big check marks for them, but we did get news yesterday that John Gibson, one of the targets the Edmonton Oilers could possibly go after. We don't know if they're actually going to go for him, but either way, he left yesterday's game for the Anaheim Ducks with an upper body injury, I believe it was, so who knows exactly what his immediate future is. Maybe the Ducks are just being extra cautious, as John Gibson could be a very valuable trade deadline piece for them, but if you're hoping for John Gibson, that might not be an option at this point. I haven't seen an update on Gibson since yesterday's report, so maybe he'll be okay. Maybe it's just a short-term thing, but we're now only 5 games away, at least for the Edmonton Oilers here, from the trade deadline, so time is of the essence if the Oilers are going to do anything goaltender-wise. But again, I have to say, in front of Calvin Pickard, the Edmonton Oilers were just terrible. I think just blaming the goaltender is the easy way out here. Easily, Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard definitely had to be better this weekend. Head coach Chris Knobloch pointed it out in his availability this morning that the Oilers needed some saves, but to simply say it's goaltending is completely undercutting the issue. The Oilers, top to bottom, were just not good enough. Matt Savoy, like I said, was the only bright spot for me once again. John Klingberg looked bad. Evan Bouchard looked bad again. I mean, guys like Jeff Skinner are trying here. He got another goal here today, and it just seems Jeff Skinner scores a lot in games that end up being meaningless. Not to undercut Jeff Skinner there, but it just seems to be a pattern here this season. The Oilers just have to find a way to be better here. They just have not looked ready to play this weekend, and the schedule does not get any easier. They got Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay all coming up here. The Oilers could dig themselves one big hole here if they do not get this turned around and get it turned around quickly. They have to be better between the pipes. They have to be better defensively. They have to be better offensively. Giving up 6 goals and 7 goals in a hockey game is obviously not a recipe for success at all. That is a complete and total recipe for disaster, and I think this is easily the worst we've seen the Edmonton Oilers so far this year. I mean, they started off, with 3 straight losses to open the year, so they didn't look that great then, but they're missing something right now. I mean, most of the guys should be pretty rested. Connor McDavid hasn't looked terrible, and he's the guy that's played the most out of all of them, so I don't know what the excuse is. We know the flu was going through this team before the Four Nations break, but you'd think with a 2-week break, the flu should be something in the past at this point. So I don't think it's sickness anymore. I don't know what the issue is, but the Edmonton Oilers just simply have to figure this out. They're turning the puck over. They're not getting saves. They're struggling to score when it really matters. They picked up a couple goals in the third period in this hockey game, but by that point, the Washington Capitals pretty much had this one in the bag. I mean, you can never really count out the Edmonton Oilers. It's always possible for them to mount a comeback, but probably unlikely today against the Washington Capitals, who are just a strong team from top to bottom, have 2 great goaltenders. So the Oilers have some work to do here. Like I said, 5 games away from the trade deadline now, so what are they going to do? A lot of it's going to depend on what is happening with Evander Kane. We don't, like I said in yesterday's video, have a 100% official answer on that. Evander Kane was skating again recently, but he's still not skating with the main group, so I don't know how close he is. I mean, he's just skating for the first time in a long time here. So to expect Evander Kane to come in here and have an immediate impact for the Edmonton Oilers, I wouldn't bet on it. And for the Edmonton Oilers' sake, it's just almost better if Evander Kane can hold off till the Stanley Cup playoffs, because that opens up the most options for the Oilers at the trade deadline. I know they said they weren't going to move Jeff Skinner, or at least GM Stan Bowman said he hadn't considered that at this point, but maybe a guy like Skinner, even though he's got that no trade protection, I prefer to keep Jeff Skinner because he's actually producing right now, but maybe a guy like Victor Arvidsson. I'd like to see what Victor Arvidsson can do in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but he's not doing much in the regular season here for the Edmonton Oilers. I think he did get an assist on Nuge's goal, but the odd assist, the odd goal, for a $4 million player, the Edmonton Oilers need a lot more. Could you even move a $4 million guy that's got another year left on his deal? That's another question as well, but the Oilers don't have a lot of options if Evander Kane is coming back before the end of the regular season. So a lot of things to figure out here. Going into the game, too, I was going to mention Chris Knobloch completely scrambled up the lines once again, but they were changed throughout the game, as they always are. It was Podkolzin, McDavid, and Kapanen to start the game. Perry, Draisaitl, and Savoy. Arvidsson, Nuge, and Hyman. That line didn't end up looking too bad. And Skinner, Henrique, and Brown. Jeff Skinner back on that fourth line once again. Echo and Bouchard, Nurse and Emberson, and Kulak and Klingberg. Calvin Pickard, of course, getting the start today for the Edmonton Oilers. So it's been a blender here for the Oilers lineup-wise. It didn't help them at all today. A lot of people didn't like that lineup going into the game, and I don't think it stayed that way much. I think Arvidsson, Nuge, and Hyman did stay together for the most part, but Chris Knobloch scrambling the lines, but nothing working for the Edmonton Oilers today as they fall once again to the Washington Capitals 7-3. So I think that's all I got to say on this one for now, guys. It's another frustrating afternoon, but let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section below. What do you think the Edmonton Oilers need to go for at the trade deadline? Do you still want to go for a goaltender? Do you think a top 4 D would have more impact? A top 6 forward, bottom 6 forward? Who are some guys with size out there that you think the Oilers could realistically acquire? Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan.